Kimetsu no Yaiba, or Witcher Demon Slayer, is an anime. An anime indeed. It is going on right now, so I asked you lads on Twitter, should I make a video on this bad boy? I have one in mind. I don't know if you want it, and apparently you guys want it.
Link to my Twitter in the description.
When I started watching this anime, I was like, I wonder if I should cover this anime. It's made by UFOtable, so I'm sure the animation's gonna be gorgeous. It's based off a manga that a lot of people like, even though I personally have no experience with it. It will probably be dope. And after watching the first episode, I was like, you know, I've seen doper. It's not like that I'm putting a finger on anything that's bad or wrong, per se, but the main character was like a good guy that was just helping people because, he's a good guy, which is potentially the greatest motivation of all. But as a person like myself that relates mostly to assholey, psychotic sociopaths, not exactly my cup of tea. I understand we're in old age Japan, so, obviously, Japan during older eras have demons. Like every single depiction of Japan in that time period has demons. And I understand it's an important part of the culture, but, the culture doesn't really mean all that much to me personally. So it's not like the setting meant all that much to me either. He goes home and sees his entire family is killed out by demons, which never happened to an anime protagonist ever. His sister is still alive, but she turned into a demon woman, so obviously she tries to attack him, but because he loves her and shiz, she decides not to, and she's now a nice demon woman. By the end of the first episode, they meet someone from these Demon Slayer Corps that gets involved and then sends the main character to old dude with a cool mask, because as we know, all old dudes in anime are freaking badass, so he will make a dope mentor. This is the first episode in a nutshell, and after finishing it, the first thought that came to my mind was, I mean, to be fair, I was watching it happily, kind of sitting there, and then every time any character would make any abrupt movements, due to the beauty of the animation, I orgasmed a little, I'm not gonna lie, but that's not what's gonna keep bringing me back to the series, is it? Well, the truth of the matter is, right after finishing the first episode of Kimetsu no Yaiba, I was not all that enthralled with the series, and generally, after that experience I have on an ongoing anime, I'll wait for it to end until I consider picking it back up or just moving on entirely. My experience with Kimetsu no Yaiba is different than that, and that's because even though I was not all that drawn into the world like, you know, a good isekai should do, like, please, if the main character would have been hit by a truck and popped up into a different world with demons, hell yeah, I'm all into that, but this didn't give me that excitement boner that even a lot of the most generic of isekai did. There is one thing this did right, though, as opposed to those isekai. It's freaking beautiful. Now, even though I was not all that enthralled with the story, I do love the art style, I do love the opening, and that alone is not enough to bring me back either. However, the longer I spent not watching Kimetsu no Yaiba, I realized that I was still thinking about it an awful lot, at least in comparison to the series I normally drop. When I drop a show, more often than not, I never give it a second thought, but this lingered in my mind, unlike most others. At the time of me recording this video, I can safely say that I have seen the first 4 episodes of Kimetsu no Yaiba. That is where the series is up to right now, and honestly, I will probably be finishing its 26 episode run, and I will be doing this very happily. Kimetsu no Yaiba does something that the vast majority of anime does not do, and even though I did not pick up on it on first viewing, it lingered with me enough to bring me back. And that's because Kimetsu no Yaiba is absolutely beautiful in its simplicity. I do very often say that simplicity is the hardest thing to master, and Kimetsu no Yaiba nailed that above all else. True, it is the generic shonen story in a generic-seeming anime setting, but not only do I not consider generic bad, as it's not a valid criticism, there are a lot of things I genuinely do like about this show. Aside from the gorgeous art style and the god-tier animation, the main character is a character who plays his shonen protagonist role very well. He's not an underdog per se, like your average take on an underdog shonen protagonist. He doesn't start off below average in any way. Asta had no magic until he got magic. Deku had no quirk until he got a quirk. Naruto was unable to control his chakra until he eventually, after hard work granted, was able to do that. And this isn't a slight to Naruto, Deku, or Asta, or anyone else for that matter, but the fact is, the protagonist of Demon Slayer isn't portrayed as an underdog. Most series want you to empathize with the main character, so immediately gives you that vibe. Naruto failed the ninja exam 3 times. Asta's working crazy hard, but still he has no magic. Deku wants to be a hero even though he can't. These are dreams that all 3 of these characters have, and there's an impasse in them reaching their dreams. How is someone that can't make a single measly clone gonna become the Hokage? How could someone without magic become the Wizard King? And how could someone without a quirk become the greatest hero? The protagonist of of Kimetsu no Yaiba, above all else, does not have lofty goals and ambitions. He's completely grounded as a real, genuine, good dude in our world. And he's not kind to the extent of foolishness that we see in some other characters. He's just an optimistic fellow. He'll have compassion for the demons he's fighting, and he'll be sad to kill them. Yes, he understands he has to work past that because they must be defeated. They are a threat to mankind, but that doesn't mean he has to like it. His compassion is something that most shonen protagonists don't have, or at least don't have visibly. If you look at most shonen series, the way they get around this slight issue is they're never in the position where they need to kill. Naruto, Deku, and Asta individually do not kill a single villain in all of their respective series. Not that they per se won't, but they don't. They're never put in a position where that takes place. Deku will beat up Muscular and they'll take him to jail. Asta will whack people with the flat side of his sword, and Naruto will bring people near death after their battles. But when Naruto fought Kakuzu, Kakashi delivered the final blow. When Naruto fought Pain, Pain sacrificed himself. With the main character of Kimetsu no Yaiba facing this adversity and having to overcome his compassion for the greater good. It is something he needs to do no matter how hard it is. That makes you understand how powerful his compassion is, why that's such a powerful trait in regard to the rest of the world, and why it's sad that he has to live through the burdens of taking a life. The ideal that a protagonist of a series is just overly compassionate, and that's his driving character trait, has been done a lot. And it's not something I personally find interesting or can really relate to. Not that I'm a bad dude, but I'm not an overly awesome dude. And I think most people aren't. It's a blissful ideal that everyone will be compassionate in the ways that these protagonists are. So outgoing to do good for literally everyone, even though it can cost you your life due to your naivete, it isn't per se realistic. I personally have issues with Shiro Emiya, the protagonist of Fate Stay Night, for these similar reasons, although I do understand why his past caused him to basically have a psychological problem that causes him to constantly need to endanger himself to do good to others. I understand all of that, but I can't relate. In Demon Slayer, though, it's the first time I've related to a character where compassion is their most outstanding character trait. He isn't compassionate to the point of naivete, it's just something he has to overcome to do what's right. I feel like most of us wouldn't be comfortable killing demons the first time you see them, being that they're sentient creatures as well, just like actual soldiers go through crazy PTSD for killing people on the battlefield, where killing people is actually justifiable. It doesn't matter. Compassion is tied into humanity, and even though it's slightly more prominent in the protagonist of Kimetsu no Yaiba than most, it is a trait that I do relate to. It's beautiful, to be 100% honest, how this character is written. I don't love him, he's not one of my favorite shonen protagonists ever, but there really is a serene beauty in someone overcoming his hurdles. They love their sister even though their sister's become a demon and they vow to take care of her. He'll undergo the most intense training regimen in order to become stronger and become an actual demon slayer, so that this tragedy that befell him will not befall others if he can help it. They aren't massively lofty ideals, but the ideals are there regardless. He doesn't want to become the #1 demon slayer, he just wants to be a competent enough one to protect anyone. So as far as writing a generic main character, the simplicity that went into Tanjiro Kamado, the main character of Kimetsu no Yaiba, is beautiful. Now, main character aside, the setting of the world itself is very different on second glance to this generic old Japanese demon period. Because as we know, old Japan had a hell of a lot of demons. New York has cockroaches, Japan had demons. Thank God we had Oda Nobunaga get hit by a school bus in another world to go to old Japan and exterminate them. Goddamn, what a hero. Yes, my art of the Japanese history is very strong. In fact, it's potentially one of my strongest subjects. For example, I could tell you all of the epic samurai battles. You know, how they would face each other, each pull out their swords, and quickly dart behind each other, and all of a sudden they're standing with their backs to one another for like 5 minutes, and then blood explodes from one of them and he falls down. Yes, that's exactly how the fights were. I'm happy anime nailed that fact. But in the setting of Kimetsu no Yaiba, it doesn't stress anything. Usually, an anime is trying to focus on different points of the time period. How either the time period is corrupt or traveling from town to town and they're poor with an oppressive government. There are, you know, demons eating people, which sucks. Well, at least for the people. To be fair, it's pretty dope for the demons. But in Kimetsu no Yaiba, we do not worry about that at all. The little we know about the world and the setting is only due to the experience of the main character. We understand that our protagonist grew up in some village and that there is a demon problem. It's not all too frequent, but it does happen, and unfortunately it happened to the main character. His training on that mountain with Old Mask Dude, and as we know, all old dudes in anime are badass, was great. We saw him really exert himself to the utmost due to the love he had for his sister and the will to succeed. This pushed him to his limits, it allowed him to train his hardest, and we understand what this shadow society of demon slayers need to go through in order to actually survive on their battlefield. This training arc lasted about 2 years, so you have to understand that before even getting to know the world and the setting at all, not knowing if magic is a thing, not knowing if there are any other species roaming around aside from demons, we'll be experiencing it through Tanjiro's eyes, as he can now experience an entirely different world due to the training he's gone through. He's become a different person as well. He still has that compassion about him, he still has that drive to continue, but now he's confident he can help. In episode 4, he fights his first demon, he wins, and he saves someone, and after he saves someone, he cries tears of joy that his training actually succeeded. He did exactly what he was set out to do. As for the reason that prompted me to make this video, I feel like the fact that we weren't introduced with the setting with some epic narrator talking about it, and how the training arc was traversing through the world, hearing stories from badass old dude of what's going on, is also so simplistic. To Tanjiro at that moment, it didn't matter what was going on anywhere else. His mind was focused at the task at hand, so that's what we're experiencing. We'll see the world when he does, and that's just such a simple and beautiful way to do it. There was one scene in episode 4 that prompted me to make this video altogether. After Tanjiro is training with this boy and girl wearing fox masks for a while, honing his skill to the point that he can slice this massive boulder in twain. I always wanted to say slice something in twain, so forgive me. He then, on his way to his exam to become an actual demon slayer, says to old dude, "Thank you so much for training me. Bye. Please send regards to that boy and girl with the fox masks." And he says their names that I don't really remember. And old dude's hand that was up waving at him drops slightly, and he thinks to himself, how does he know those dead children? That gave me chills all over. The world is not what we perceive at all, and this is the most beautifully simple way to introduce that fact to us. The world is obviously in a supernatural setting. I don't go hiking and, oof, found a demon again, damn it, I hate these guys. No, it doesn't happen, except for that one time, but it usually doesn't happen. We understand it's a supernatural setting, but we have to remember, to the inhabitants of the world, it is nature and it is natural. To us, our experience with Kimetsu no Yaiba is a supernatural world. To the inhabitants of the world, it's obviously natural, not supernatural. The experience that Tanjiro had training with that boy and girl was supernatural even within the world itself. And it gave me the chills the same way someone in the real world would tell me some supernatural story that happened to them, except one little thing. I would be skeptical. However, watching this anime and seeing the experience that Tanjiro had, I believe him entirely. The characters all feel real. I feel like I can get in the head of every single character, no matter how briefly they are on screen, because of how realistically written they are. They're not all extravagant bozos that I usually seem to enjoy, but they're far more simple individuals that I can understand. In a simple setting with simple characters, simplistic goals, simplistic training, and the simplistic shounen formula in general. It still packs a wallop with its sad scenes, just like it gives you chills with its supernatural ones. Kimetsu no Yaiba is an anime that I will be sticking with until episode 26 when it ends, and depending on how much I liked it, I will then probably pick up the manga. The only thing the manga doesn't have, though, the killer music, the epic opening. Like, if you really want to get convinced to watch this anime, look at the art in this opening. Damn, the guy swinging his sword with the water waves behind it, it's beautiful. And the incredible animation throughout. If you like the shonen formula, you will love Kimetsu no Yaiba, and I highly recommend you checking it out. If you do not like the shonen formula, then in all honesty, you probably will not be entranced with the series like I was when I finished episode 4. I do hear a lot of praise for this series. I'm not gonna lie, this isn't my personal hot take, but I never actually heard any compulsive arguments as to why it's good aside from the nice animation. The reason why I decided to make this video is because I feel like it's understated in how beautiful, well-written simplicity is, and the simplicity in Kimetsu no Yaiba is beautiful. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for future anime, analysis, or satire content. If you want me to make more videos on Kimetsu no Yaiba, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the description of this one, as well as topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Link to my Twitter is in the description. Feel free to follow me there. That would be dope. I do lots of anime stuff, so definitely feel free to check all that out. And feel free to share this video with your friends that also like Kimetsu no Yaiba and want a basic analytical reasoning as to why it's gorgeous. Link to my Patreon is also in the description. All patrons are invited to the Discord server, and it helps me tremendously. Every dollar counts. I especially wanted to thank David and Noel, Negus Nogus, Burning Bush, Rise Warren, Sage of Snake, Wilson Fletcher, Team Sparky65, The Unknown Otaku, Lazy Ronin, Girthy Worm Jin, Allison Stricker, The Wolf of Gar, JD Finchery, Laser, The Ethan Ravy Landek, Kevin McLean, Jordan, White Noise 32, Nasty Frank's Barbecue, Stanley Ramsrood, Talon, Pestis Daddy Cross, Mitchell Garnett, Miriam Ramirez, Chezzy, Hamis the Great, Praise Lord de Girugamesha, Billy Thompson, Serial Flex Offender, Sheenon, Salve Says, JJ Slabrams, The Night Brights, LJ, Elijah D. Borden, Kaiser Wanar, Dan Soko, Divine Reigns, Taya Kui, Skylar Legg, Samuel Guzman, The Ninth Master, Karma, and TM Philly. I also wanted to thank the Lord Tweeger Rank, Chubbs is the Man, Noctris 13, Baby Ray, Large Blab, MD, Adria Pica, Souza, Nerdified, Everest, and Esposito. Thanks to the God Usopp Rank, Dark Element, Eduardo Flores, Puzerker, Muafak, Necro, Sunny Parks, Maurice Luis Dreyfus, and Gintama for Life. And thanks to Steve for being the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you all so much for sticking with me until this point. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. It may very well be a one-off video on Kimetsu no Yaiba. I hope you don't mind. Leave likes and shiz. Not enough psychopaths in this story for me yet until I can fully get invested. But remember to stay weird, fam.